Program 3 in Unit 7 is supposed to produce a multiplication table formatted just like this one. Notice that each row of this table includes a row number like 5, and then the row number times 1, times 2, times 3, and so on up to 10. Notice also that each table entry takes up exactly 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are spaces padding the left to make things line up. Also, the first column of table entries uses up the same 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. But in addition, there are 1, 2 spaces separating the first column from the row number. Finally, notice that the row number itself takes up 1, 2 columns. Using all of these observations, we can write our code. We'll be needing to print integers using precisely 4 spaces. Let's use a pattern string that specifies that. 4D for integers taking up exactly 4 spaces. Here's a similar pattern that we'll use for the row numbers. It says print an integer using exactly 2 spaces. Now here's the information to be displayed. We have a number of rows. The row numbers go from 1 to 10, that is 1 up to but not including 11. First, on each row we print the row number formatted to take up just 2 columns. We don't want to move to the beginning of the next line, which is the default. Instead, after this is printed, we'd like to move forward, as we noticed, just 2 spaces. After the row number is printed, we need the table entries. There are 10 of them, 1 for each column. Each entry is the row number times the column number, but it's formatted so that it takes up precisely 4 columns. After an entry is printed, we don't want to move to the beginning of the next line. In fact, we'd like to stay exactly where we are. After we've printed the row number and the 10 column entries, we do want to move to the beginning of the next line. An empty print uses the default value for end, which is new line, and so it does just what we want. When we run this version of the program, we find that it does exactly what we want, but that our column headings are missing. Let's add them. The column headings are the numbers from 1 to 10. So that they'll line up with the columns in our table, we'd like them to be printed using the same formatting as the entries in the table. After each one is printed, we remain in place. After all are printed, we move to the beginning of the next line, and then move to the beginning of the next line again to create a blank line. Let's try this. And we see that things are just right, except that our header row needs to be moved to the right 4 spaces. We'll do that by adding a print statement that simply prints the 4 spaces and stays in place afterward so that no new lines are added. Here's the final version of the program. Everything is formatted just the way we want it.